What's good, y'all? We back with another video. Today we got 10 convicts reacting to life sentences in prison. 10 convictions reacts.
No one looks forward to courtrooms and sentences, especially the defendant in the stands.
Oh, man.
Especially when it could likely be a life sentence. The
Y'all
moments
see what they
before
say,
the
bro.
jury gives their
ain't
verdict
finna-
can be mind-numbing. And if found guilty, it's impossible to predict how the convict will react when the judge says, "You are hereby sentenced to life." So, let's dive into this list and see how 10 convicts react to their
imagine being
life
sentenced to
sentences
life,
in
bro.
court. Number 1, Smith Riley. When you do the crime, you gotta do the time. That's the way of the law. And that's a harsh reality that Smith Riley
Request to withdraw his guilty plea denied and death penalty off the table.
came face to face with when he took the life of Portia Brooks in 2013. During his court hearings, the family of the lady he killed
I have to deal with life without Portia, so he should deal with life without.
bawled their eyes out as they made their statements. And when Smith Riley heard that he had gotten the life sentence,
Or defendant serve a term of life without parole. As to count 4 for the offense of attempted murder.
It ain't funny, but like,
His reaction from a confessed killer was the last in a series of intense moments in this Hamilton County courtroom.
he dramatically collapsed on the floor, bawling his eyes out too. Turns out he had pleaded guilty, then wanted to take back his plea at the last minute. But there are no takebacks in court, and Riley won't be escaping the pen. Number 2, Nicholas Lindsay. Our
Damn,
life
boy.
sentence recipient is a young
Nigga
man
broke
who was
down like
convicted
real
for the
deal, like,
2011 murder
you
of a St.
life in
Petersburg
prison,
police
I mean,
officer
you
named
gonna
David
die in that
Hoff.
bit,
The
like-
policeman was
just think about it, bro. You gonna die. You gonna die in prison, bro. Basically, that's what life. Like, that shit crazy, bro.
responding to a possible car break-in near where he saw Lindsay. Officer David had only a notebook in his hand when
Like, you
Lindsay,
gonna
who was
die
only
in
16
prison,
at the
though. I
time,
can't-
shot him
that's
5 times.
crazy,
Now,
bro.
this isn't the first time this guy would be receiving a life sentence. The first time, he was given a life sentence without a hearing, which was ruled as unconstitutional. But when you see his reaction at the second hearing,
But Nicholas Lindsay showed little interest in the hearing.
There's no indication that this type of violence.
you can begin to get an idea why he was given the first sentence. And when he heard that the second sentence was the same as the first,
Lindsay actually grinned when the judge read his ruling, the lack of remorse not lost on David Crawford's daughter.
the young man still had no remorse, and you can see him with his toothy grin, despite the fact that the family he hurt was present in court. Number 3, Dylan Schumacher.
Shit
Next,
crazy,
we have
bro.
17-year-old Dylan
Some niggas
Schumacher,
is
who
evil.
fatally beat up his girlfriend's 23-month-old son, a baby named Austin, to death. Immediately, he began weeping.
I didn't mean to kill Austin. Ashley, I really didn't. I really think I did that. I didn't mean to hurt him.
And eventually said he would give his life for Austin if he had another chance.
I can't take back what was done. I wish I could. I would give my life for Austin.
No amount of tears were going to bring little Austin back to life. He was charged with second-degree murder and sentenced to 15 years imprisonment, which is the maximum punishment in Buffalo, where the ruling took place. Safe to say that he was lucky, because if he was in a state where capital punishment was legal, he would now be on death row. Dylan's lawyer put in a defense where he claimed that Dylan couldn't control himself because of his anger issues and his inexperience at babysitting.
Austin Smith was completely defenseless. That's a given. But there were other dynamics at work there, including my client's inability to either control his anger or frustration and his inexperience in babysitting.
Well, I don't blame the lawyer. He had to say something. Number 4, John Freeman. Another 17-year-old comes at number 4, and his name is John Freeman.
At 5:30, it is 22 years to life for this teenage killer who murdered a little girl.
This teenager was convicted after he strangled a 5-year-old girl to death, a crime to which he pleaded guilty. His sentence was 25 years to life in prison,
some niggas
which
just
means that
sick,
after
bro.
25
You know
years
what, bro.
and nothing less, John gets a chance at parole. However, it's difficult to think about the regret and agony the family must have been going through, especially when you realize that they trusted the teenager to babysit their daughter. After strangling her, the teenager bagged the kid's body and dropped it in a trash can. After his sentencing, John would plead for forgiveness and apologize to the family he wrecked.
I want solar panels on my home, but they're too expensive.
It's not crazy. I ain't gonna lie, bro.
Sorry for all that, family.
As I said before, tears don't bring a life back. Number 5. Antonio Barbeau. Antonio was just 13 years old when he did something that most people would swear they would never do. He and his friend brutally murdered his 78-year-old great-grandmother with a hatchet and hammer. And as unbelievable as it sounds, it's even more unbelievable that he killed the poor woman just for money. Money that he used to buy pizza and pot. At his sentencing, Antonio had a spectrum of emotions to display. At first, he started crying. But then, when the charges against him were being read and argued, his demeanor changed. He smirked like he was being lied against, or like they contorted the allegations against him, even though every piece of evidence pointed to the fact that he did everything he was accused of. Eventually, Antonio would sob again with his head bowed when he heard his sentencing that would only see him eligible for parole when he turns 50.
Barbeau will almost certainly start his prison sentence at the Department of Corrections.
No one can tell whether the tears are genuine or false.
Crazy,
what does it
bro.
matter?
Nigga killed his
The old woman
grandma,
is
bro.
dead. Number 6.
Niggas
Chris
is
McNabb,
weird, bro.
the next on
Come
this
on.
list, killed his newborn daughter, cracked her skull, and buried her in the woods. But instead of being remorseful, this man tried to defend himself in court.
I've never harmed my kids. I didn't even hear anything that said that I had done anything to her in front of the kids. So that doesn't make sense either. And, you know, just to let the record show that I don't think I ever put my hands on her in front of those kids. And I just don't feel like just because somebody has domestic issues with the female in their life that they love, that they would just say, oh, he don't love you and all that stuff just in front of everybody or whatever, which doesn't matter. But
He kept on insisting that there was no evidence that he killed his daughter, and that the prosecutors not been able to prove that he assaulted his daughter to the point of death. Dressed in a jacket with glasses, tats on his face, and without a shred of remorse, I can imagine it was difficult convincing the judge or the jury
crazy,
that he
bro.
was innocent. However, the craziest moment happened when the judge asked him what sentence should be given to the true culprit, and he said, life. So,
You claim you're innocent, so you tell me what sentence the man or woman that you claim did this should receive.
if you ever find out who did them, they deserve to be under the jail.
Okay, so they ought to get the maximum sentence.
Most definitely.
Okay.
the judge gave him exactly what he asked for.
On the crime of malice murder, I sentence you to life in confinement without parole. On concealing the death of another, I sentence you to 10 years in confinement, consecutive or after. Count one. Do you understand each of your sentences?
He was shocked, and you can only wonder what he was expecting to happen. Number 7. Seth Welch and Tatiana Fusari. If you called them the couple from hell, you wouldn't be wrong. This couple starved their newborn daughter to death for the most ridiculous reasons. While the poor baby's mother would not say why she left her baby to starve till her body ate itself. The father, Seth Welch, said that she was too small to work on his farm with him, and that he couldn't take her to the hospital for religious reasons. The craziest part is the fact that he was the one who called 911. He chillingly called his infant daughter's body dead as a doornail. While his wife was given 30 years, he was given life imprisonment.
In Solon Township, that you're both charged with what they call felony murder while in the perpetration or attempted perpetration of child abuse in the first degree. They're alleging that you murdered one Mary Welch. That is a charge called homicide felony murder. It is life without parole. It requires a DNA sample to be taken upon arrest.
It sounds
often like a cotton swab or in the...
You can tell from the dramatic change in facial expression that they are only sad that they got caught. Number 8. Brandon Spencer. Brandon Spencer's story has divided many people. He was handed down a 40 years to life sentence for shooting into a crowd at a Halloween party on the USC campus in 2012 when he was just 19. And although he maintained his innocence throughout the trial,
I'm sorry for what happened, Your Honor, but I need to life in prison. And I'm not a bad person, but I made mistakes. But I'm not just some gangbanger that she tried to portray me as.
the jury didn't believe him. It only
Ain't
took
gonna lie, bro.
3 hours for them to reach a verdict in
bro.
2014.
If you keep me in life, bro, you might as well just give me the lethal injection, bro. Just kill me right there, bro. I'm not trying to go through all that, bro. I'm not trying to go through. If you say you are sentenced to life, bro, just kill me, bro. I don't give me an electric chair. Do something like kill me. I'm not trying to do no life in prison, bro.
The
That's
incident
dead,
itself
bro.
had no casualties, but
That's
it
it,
4
dead,
people
bro. I
injured.
cannot lie, bro.
And while there
That
was
shit
no
is dead,
rock
bro.
solid evidence of Brandon committing the crime, incriminating data on his phone linking him to violent gangs was what eventually led to his sentencing. Funny enough, Brandon had no criminal record before this case. He had a steady job and had a lot of responsible people in his social circle, which could have been enough to hand him a lighter sentence. Brandon broke into tears and banged his head on the table while he received his sentencing. Obviously, obviously feeling defeated. Did he do it? Who knows? Number 9. Jamal Robinson, Kenneth Hill, and Darius Diaz-Gaskin. When you pack 3 evil individuals together, there will always be one who will outdo the rest. This is exactly what happened with Jamal Robinson, Kenneth Hill, and Darius Diaz-Gaskin. 3 men who broke into a township store and murdered the store owner, a father of 2 young girls.
Shalaka was the popular owner of the Moonlight Party store in Clinton Township. He was gunned down in March of last year after Jamal Robinson, Darius Diaz-Gaskin, and Kenneth Hill came to his store intent to rob and kill him.
When their sentencing of life without parole was read out to them, Kenneth and Darius kept calm, showing 0 to no remorse. But you see, Jamal Robinson, he had threatened his victim's sister, telling her that it ain't over and calling her the B word. When the judge challenged him, he smirked and denied saying that to her.
What more could you possibly want to take from this family, yet insult them and threaten them and say, it ain't over yet? What does that mean? Fill us in, because you know what? I'm a little worried for them.
I know I wasn't talking to them. I know for a fact I wasn't.
Well, who were you talking to?
I was talking to my family.
This ain't over yet,
I didn't say the B word. You can play the record. You hear it for yourself again.
Madam Prosecutor, did I get this wrong?
I don't believe so, Judge.
The judge then told him that she wished she could add an extra 10 years to his sentence. Number 10, Lewis Matthews. Saving the worst for last, I present to you Lewis Matthews, a man who molested his girlfriend's 10-year-old daughter for several years. When his girlfriend eventually caught him in the act, he panicked and forcibly took her daughter to a convenience store where he bought bleach and poured it on the girl in a bid to wipe